everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Sandy and today we're going to be talking about the books that I read in September and October. So I actually have a fair amount of books to talk to you about today because at the end of my pregnancy I needed something to distract me, so I just read a bunch. So yeah, let's just hop into the books that I read. The first book that I read was A Study in Scarlet by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is the first Sherlock Holmes story. It's very entertaining. It's still setting up the character of Sherlock Holmes, and that takes a while and is a bit clunky, but like because Sherlock Holmes is such an iconic character, now reading it doesn't feel as clunky as it would as if you didn't know anything about Sherlock Holmes at all. So like because I knew a lot about Sherlock Holmes and because I like already know his character and like all the things that he does, it didn't feel clunky. But if you didn't know anything about Sherlock Holmes, it might, honestly. And then also the pacing of it is kind of weird because halfway through the book you just like jump back in time into a completely different setting so that you have all the backstory so that the mystery makes sense. So instead of like being in one place, you know, in like the first half of the book you're like in London and you're in this mystery and you're like, wait, what's happening? What's going on? And you like kind of think that it might be this one thing. Then you're like all of a sudden in Utah and you have to like go through this whole backstory and it's like, why am I reading any of this? And then it's not till the very end of the book that it makes sense. There's also a lot of very negative commentary about my church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as Mormons. There's a lot of negative commentary about my church, and so that was a little bit uncomfortable to read because it's not very accurate, and you can tell that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle did not like us very much, but that's okay. To each their own. Yeah, it was just a little bit weird to read that, but not a huge deal. Anyway, did I even say what star I gave it? I don't think so. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. Because it is a classic, but and I'm going to read more of the Sherlock Holmes stories, but I think the other ones are probably better because the first one you're just kind of getting into the world of Sherlock Holmes. The next book that I read was Hyde by Kiersten White. I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. Honestly, it could have been a 1 star. I didn't really like it at all. Basically, you're following this girl who is entering this competition that's like a giant game of hide and seek in this abandoned amusement park, and it's like 7 days, and like if you just like have to be the last one to be found basically, and it's like sinister things start happening. I did not realize that this book had a supernatural element, which it says in the synopsis. I didn't read the synopsis, I just watched reviews of what other people had to say about it, and the reviews that I saw, the people were disappointed by it, but I was like, oh, that still kind of sounds like an interesting story. So I didn't realize that it was like a supernatural element, and I wished that it wasn't, because I think it would have been a stronger story if there wasn't the supernatural element, and it was just like the horrors of human beings doing bad things instead of like a monster, because it kind of felt like a cop-out, to be honest. And you're following a lot of characters. There's 14 people, which, okay, I also didn't realize that it's like a loose retelling of like the Minotaur and Labyrinth, or I don't know if it's like a retelling or if it's just like she wanted to have those vibes, but that's like what it is. So it's 14 people, but because there's so many characters, they all kind of just blend together. It's really hard to like, I don't know, as these characters die off, I didn't care because I was like, I don't even know who that person was. There wasn't anything to tell me to distinguish them, really, honestly. And so they didn't really have a lot of depth because there was just too many, I think. And then the main character has like this trauma. Hold on, I'm gonna see what it says in the synopsis so that I don't. Okay, I won't say what it is because it doesn't say the synopsis, but she has like this very traumatic past. But I felt like the only reason that she had that was to like move the plot, but not in a deep way, or like not in a way that did anything. Like you could completely take that out of the story and it would not change anything. And so I think that that could have been used in a much deeper way to explore like more of like how trauma affects people, because it kind of shows, you know, like her PTSD and stuff. And I can't speak to that because I don't have PTSD. So you know, you would have to talk to someone who does to see if that's an accurate description of how it feels. But I think that that could have been done in a much better way to kind of, I don't know, like bring more awareness or help people who don't have PTSD to understand. I don't know, I think it just could have been done in a deeper way, and it just felt like it was just kind of thrown in there. The love story was also just kind of cheap. I don't know, shallow. Like it just didn't really. It just kind of felt like it was thrown in there. The one thing that was weird or funny, I guess, to me was that one of the characters is from Pocatello, Idaho, which is near where I live, and so that was just random to me because I was like, people know about Pocatello because it's just a weird. I don't know. It's a small place. It's not like a big city or anything. So that was kind of random. I was like, oh, Pocatello. But yeah, 2 out of 5 stars. Didn't love it. The next book that I read was Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. I gave this 5 stars. It's just a sweet story. I grew up watching the movie, which is very different from the book. But the book is really beautiful. It's beautiful writing. It's definitely something that I'll read with my daughter when she gets older. My sister-in-law gave it to me for my birthday, which was really nice of her, and I'm glad she did because I never read it before. And it's just like a sweet classic story, and yeah, I mean, I can't really say anything bad about it. It's just great. The next book that I read was Gallant by V.E. Schwab, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked this book. I tried to read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is by V.E. Schwab, and is super popular on like TikTok, really famous. And I did not like it. I DNF'd it. I thought the main character was extremely boring. So I was like a little bit nervous to try V.E. Schwab again, but then I loved this book. And this book is YA, so I don't know if it, and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is an adult, so I don't know if it was like the difference between her YA writing and her adult writing that I liked the YA more, or if it, you know, I'll have to try a few more books from her. But I was kind of nervous going into it, but then I really, really enjoyed it. It's very whimsical. Okay, hi, editing me. I tried to explain what this book is about, and I did a very, very horrible job. But the less that you know about the synopsis, I think the better going into this book. Just know that there is like a shadow land, there's things with ghouls, there's some generational things, there's a manor, it's very dark. That's basically all you should know about the synopsis, because the more that you know about the story, the less it makes sense, the less you'll want to read it. So sorry for this interruption, but I just explained it so horribly that I had to come back here and try again. Bye. It's very whimsical, and it's really interesting, and there's a lot of ambiguity with the magic system in this like shadow world and how it works and how she interacts with it and how the other characters interact with it. The main character is mute. She doesn't speak, and I think that it was done really well, and it really drives her character development, and it's written really beautifully. It reminded me of The Graveyard Book and The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, and I really liked both of those books, and it has the same kind of like dark, whimsical vibe. So yeah, I don't know if I can really speak to the plot that much, but I liked the vibe a lot. And I think sometimes people focus too much on like all of the technical aspects of reading, like the plot and the characters and stuff like that, which are important, but entertainment value also matters. And this book was entertaining to me, and I enjoyed the act of reading it, which is very important. So yeah, I really liked it. The next book that I read was Finley Donovan is Killing It by Ellie Cosimano, or Elle Cosimano. I gave it 4 stars. This book is really entertaining. It's pretty funny. It has some like dark humor. Basically, you're following this woman who is an author, and she's having a meeting with her agent, and she's discussing her murder mystery novel, and someone overhears her and thinks that she is a hit woman and tries to hire her to be a hit woman. And so you just kind of watch her. She's a single mom, recently divorced, and she's just kind of struggling through life, and then this happens, and you just kind of see her go through all these silly scenarios and the things that she does for her family, basically. And it's really entertaining. It's really strong character development with the main character and the supporting characters. None of the supporting characters just kind of like fall off. They all are whole people. The mystery had my attention the whole time. I was really interested, and I thought all of the plot twists were done really well. I didn't see a lot of the things coming, and I was interested in the mystery the entire time. And I know that there's a second book out now, and I think the third book is coming out soon. And I would definitely read them. I thought it was super entertaining, and I would also recommend this book to a wide audience because I think that most people would enjoy it. The next book that I read was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I think it's Tolkien. I gave this, what did I give it? 5 out of 5? 4 out of 5? 4 out of 5. Because it's not like an all-time fave or anything. But I did really enjoy it. I thought that this book would be might be like difficult to read, because sometimes classics are kind of hard to read because of the old language that they use, and especially fantasy, because sometimes with fantasy you have to like get so deep into the world building that nothing makes sense. But this book, the world building does not bog you down, and it's really easy to just kind of like dive into the world and like be completely immersed in this fantasy world without having to know all of these like super specific details or how everything works exactly. And Bilbo Baggins is such a fun main character to follow, and it's really like it's written in a fun way, and it's pretty witty too, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was fun. Yeah, it was a good read. The reason that I'm reading this is because I've never seen the Lord of the Rings movies or The Hobbit at all, because my mom didn't let me watch them when I was younger because she was afraid they would give me nightmares, which they probably would have, because I get nightmares really easily, and when I was a kid I got nightmares really easily, and so she didn't want to have to deal with that. And so I just had never watched them, and then, you know, here I am as an adult, and I'm like, man, still haven't seen those. Might as well just read all of the books first. So that's why. Started with The Hobbit, and I will read the rest of the Lord of the Rings series soon. I'm on hold for the first one, so we'll see when that comes out. I don't know. But yeah, it was entertaining. And then the last book that I read was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This is just, will always be all of the Harry Potter books, I think 5 out of 5 stars for me. I have read them before. I'm rereading them. I've seen the movies like a billion times. My husband and I recently watched all of the movies, and then I was like, man, I want to reread those. So I am. There's really not a lot to say about it. It's just great. It will always be a favorite. Grew up watching them, grew up reading them, and that's basically all I have to say about that. So yeah, those were the books that I read. I had some good reading months, and so far it's November 8th, and I have not finished a book yet, but that's fine. I'm currently reading Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. We'll see how many Harry Potter books I get through this month. I am a month postpartum, and I am still kind of trying to get into the swing of things. So, yeah. we'll see how much I end up reading in November, but hopefully I'll read some good things. I think it will mostly be Harry Potter. But yeah. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Tell me about the books that you've read recently, and if you've read any of the books that I mentioned, tell me what your thoughts were on them, because I always find that really, really interesting. I need to like join a book club or something to talk about books with people, because I just really enjoy listening to other people talk about books, which is why I also make these videos, because I also like talking about books. Anyway, if you like this video, please like it, leave a comment telling me about those books, and subscribe for more content like this. Bye!